you doing? It's been raining past couple of days here where I am, and I love rainy days. I don't know about you, but I enjoy them. Even though I've kind of been in the house, I've been able to create. Now, you may have seen this um, hat, me create this hat before. Can I tell you, I have sold two of them. And the reason why I bring this up is because it's true. If you have a vision, a passion to create something, something that you haven't necessarily seen before, but you're like, this is something I have to release, I have to get out in my creative arts, do it. Because I don't know if you would ever wear a hat like this. I know when I showed it to some of my family members, they were like, oh, that's unique. Which translates, if you see what, maybe a baby that's not so attractive, you go, oh, look at that baby. It was one of those kind of comments. But in time, guess what? That baby in time has time to look beautiful and will end up looking gorgeous, right? And sometimes it takes us time to appreciate work. When we first see it, we may not understand it, but over time, it can turn into something beautiful and something that people appreciate. The two artists that have inspired me on that level of creating is Botero, Fernando Botero, who was a visual artist, painter, and sculptor from Colombia. He passed not long ago. And Basquiat, he was a graffiti artist. He died at 27, very young. I believe it was in the 80s. And the way he spells his name, if I'm mispronouncing it, is Basquiat. So I hope I'm saying his name correctly. And these two artists, the similarity, even though their works were couldn't were worlds apart in terms of creation, they were they were both artistic geniuses in my mind. And to me, an artistic genius creates things. They release that fire, that passion in them, and they create it even though it's not popular, even though no one around them may understand it. Fernando Botero, he even said he couldn't understand why he created the large people, the large figures. He has oversized women, a lot of them, his sculptures were of these voluptuous, large, oversized women, some eating fruit, some laughing, and it just wasn't popular at the time that he was creating these sculptures and paintings. And he would also take popular figures, like he took the Mona Lisa and painted her at, say, age 9, but she was a very large Mona Lisa, not the Mona Lisa that we're used to seeing. And that was his version of Mona Lisa at age 9, that she was, he said she was chunky, or he envisioned her to be chunky. Don't quote me on that one, but you can find that painting. And it's just, and even the Basquiat, the graffiti artist, he, I mean, to be honest, when I look at his work, I don't understand it. Um, but it didn't gain an appreciation until after his death. It started to grow. One of his works, one of his graffiti art, went for 110 million, and they said that Jay-Z owns one or some of his pieces, and it's amazing. It's amazing um, how with true, and that's how you know they're geniuses, visionary geniuses, is because they have already seen a vision that we may not have appreciated or understood when it came out. But after or in time or after death, in time for Botero's work, after death for Basquiat's work, then people were able to see and appreciate their work. A genius is way ahead of everybody else. I'm not saying I'm a genius. I'm not in no way implying that I'm a visionary genius. But what inspires me about this men is that they did something, they were just working out of true passion. And with my hats, even though they're not popular, I have a vision that I appreciate first, that I fell in love with first. You have to be in love with your own work first as an artist. And it's different than doing something, you know, for the mass public. This art is really, you don't create art for the mass public. You create it for maybe a few um, who may see your work as art and really appreciate it. So I feel like every artist has their group, their niche group who understands them and their work in a certain way. So let me tell you about this. So when I saw this felt patterned wool fabric um, in brick, I've got inspired. I was like, oh my goodness, this looks like a lot of the buildings that I grew up in and around. And you would always see pigeons not far. Um, you'd see pigeons on the windowsills of these brick buildings and so forth. I immediately said, you know what? Someone from New York is going to appreciate this hat and they're going to get this hat. People who are sick of seeing pigeons and pigeons, because I don't know about in your town, but in New York, pigeons are gangster. Do not feed them, but they're used to being fed. They're used to eating scraps. They can be a little bit aggressive, and they eat practically almost anything. But yet and still, they still have a beauty to them, you know? So, sure enough, I had a client, my other passion, I'm a hairstylist, as some of you may already know. I was doing client's hair, and she expressed how she also has two passions, marketing, and she also is a visual artist. I think a visual digital artist. I hope I'm saying that right. But being in the art world, you meet other artists. So she has a friend who is an independent um, director, and he did this film or documentary on pigeons. And when I showed her my work, she was like, I can't believe it. She forwarded it to her director friend, and he said, who is it who has made this wonderful hat? And she said, oh, my hairstylist, she's going to school to be a hat designer. He said, well, I look forward to supporting her in her work, and I will take one. So she's like, I'm going to have one, and I'm going to wear it to his premiere, and the director is also going to wear one. So I'm going to make another one of these with gray brick felt fabric with a pigeon on the side, because I envision them taking a picture together in their hats since they're so close. The other hat, I'm going to put the pigeon on the right side so that when they take a picture, their birds, a picture together, their birds won't clash. One will be on one side, one will be on another. So I was just, and they're, I don't know where they're originally from, but they both have lived in New York. So they get it. They get it. You know what I mean? The pigeon reference with the brick and in our New York area, they get it. So create what you're going to create. You have to feel the fire first. You don't necessarily have to understand why you're doing it, but because that's what Botero said. He said, an artist can't explain why they're attracted to certain images, colors, textures, but they just are, So create it without overthinking, and your audience will come. The people who appreciate your work, they will come. They will be like, yes, thank you. And I just think it made my day. I wanted to cry because it felt good. It felt good to be validated. But what I want to get across today is that before you get that validation, you have to validate yourself and say, I'm not crazy. I'm not weird. I'm an artistic visionary. And if it takes a while, even if it takes my death, my work being appreciated after I'm not on this earth anymore, then so be it. To all my future Boteros and Basquiats, keep your vision alive. See ya.